Hello, welcome to Win, Lose, or Cry, a Maple Leafs podcast. Again, we're down one guy this week. James has decided to leave us, but Chase is back for a great episode. Right? Did you catch the last game?
I've been twiddling my thumbs. Of course, I've been catching last games. Wait, no, I haven't because there's been nothing to really
Yeah.
watch.
Yes. The NHL has gone into a suspension of the league, at least till the end of the Christmas break. And some other stuff that's in suspended. But you know what? Let's tackle this one at a time. The COVID has been rampant. The incredible amount of people getting this new strain of the virus. Everybody was out. The games all being suspended except for what was it? Vegas, no, Tampa and Dallas, I
Camp,
think.
Camp in Vegas still played last
Tampa and
night.
Vegas played. Okay, all right, whatever. Like,
Somehow, they're the only two that haven't been absolutely riddled with it. I don't know how they've managed. Good for them, but it's been a wild roller coaster for most teams right now. They just I don't even know how they've been affected this bad because there's only seemed to be like two teams that had it, but then all of a sudden they traveled and it just spread
it
like
got
wildfire.
everywhere. Yeah.
The one thing that kind of and I don't know if you saw the just a quick little interview that the people have been showing with Stevie Yzerman, but I'm kind of in agreement with him. Like, why are we testing players that are asymptomatic or healthy? If like I know they can still necessarily like they can still transmit it,
Yeah.
but if they have any symptoms,
They could still give it to
they
people.
they can still give it to him. But at the point is, though, everyone's double vaxxed. So
Yeah,
these are
but
some of
you
the most healthiest guys in the world.
yeah.
So shouldn't we learn to live with it by now?
Yes.
That's the big thing. Like that's what I agree. Like that's
Hmm.
what Eisner was getting at. It's like let's like we can't keep folding up shop.
I
Even though
get
like
it.
but it's just it's frustrating. I can see
Yeah.
why the players get frustrated. I'm getting frustrated.
It's very frustrating. And you know what? If everybody was double vaxxed in the world like they should be, then it wouldn't be as much of an issue. Like my boss actually got it, and he tested positive, but he ended up having it was like a bad flu because he's double vaxxed and he can fight it off. And I don't want to go into the specifics of how the vaccine works because I'm tired of doing it to people. I had protesters on my street a week or two ago, like not in front of my house, but just down the road, and they're all protesting it. One person like had a sign saying, "I don't want myocarditis." I'm like, "Do you know what that is?" And they said, "Well, you can get it from the vaccine." I'm like, "No, no, it's
There's a better
no."
chance of getting it from getting COVID.
Yeah, it's like you don't even know what you're protesting. You saw someone mention myocarditis, and you're like, "Ugh!" But I don't
Hopefully,
want to talk about the specifics of it because I'm getting
yeah.
sick. I'm getting sick of being the resident biologist out of like my family and the neighborhood. So, but yeah, even with being double vax, you can still pass it on, and it's not as big of a deal to these players, except if they get it, even with their double vax, they're getting sick, and you don't want to who wants to get sick and miss games, right?
No,
Um,
exactly. There's still some players out there that are saying like they are not having any symptoms, or they might have just a small cough. They're almost at the point where a lot of them are agreeing they just want to keep playing.
yeah,
They know the risks, but it's like listen, like we're taking the right precautions. Like we're listening to all the guidelines you're giving us, and now you know we're doing you're shutting us down. Like I understand like we have to do our part, and the league's got to do what they think is correct, and I can't get angry at them because I'd rather the teams be at full strength and not constantly be missing two, three guys at a time.
hmm
But it I can see why they're getting frustrated, why the GMs are getting frustrated because they're building these teams. They want to keep playing. They want to see what they have so they can get ready for the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely, I totally agree. It just sucks. Like it's unprecedented, right? And yeah, most if you're vaccinated, you're not going to get that sick for the most part. There's the
Yeah,
odd
knock
person.
on wood.
Yeah, but again, you don't want to be that person, and we're trying to nip this thing in the bud. So we're trying to be like, you don't want to be flying across borders and meeting up with people because you know there's a bunch of idiots that aren't vaxxed. So guy's not showing symptoms who has it. He's not sick, but he gives it to idiot number one and two who aren't vaxxed. They get sick and then they get really sick. And I would, I personally wouldn't say it's natural selection, but there's other people that might. Um, but I do agree with you. I as much as the scientist in me wants to say like, no, this is how we have to do it. The you know person in me who's been living through this bullshit and who wants to watch hockey is like, I I said the other day to my fiance, I'm like, I'm getting really fucking sick of wearing a mask everywhere. Like, I did my part. I'm vaxxed. Like, I'm getting sick. I went to go to the store and I forgot I didn't have a mask in the car. I'm like, I had to actually drive home to get a bloody mask because of this bullshit. I'm sick of it, but I get it. And it's conflicting.
Yeah. Well, I was talking to someone about it the other day because same thing. Because with playing men's league right now, we're sitting on pins and needles because just like the NHL, like they're trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to be changing when we come back to try to curb some of the spread right now. For men's league players, we're sitting here going like, okay, are the rinks closing? Are we still going to be playing? Like we paid $400 for the season. It's not like we're getting paid to play. We're
Yeah.
paying to play. So for us, like it's getting frustrating on that side. But when you're a pro athlete and literally you sleep, eat, and breathe hockey, and that's your job, you can understand why they're saying like we have to learn to live with it. As much as it's shitty to say because like we're trying to protect like grandparents, maybe family members with weakened immune systems, but these guys they got to start looking at it's a business at the same time,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
they're getting hurt even though they're
Yeah.
multimillionaires, billionaires. They're getting hurt with this whole
Mhm.
shutdown constantly as a small business would be hurt, not on the same scale, but they're losing money too. So you don't want to lose money at any business point. So as bad as it sounds, like it's almost like we got to learn to live with it. So
Yeah.
it's just a frustrating point where they look at some people that are like literally not showing any symptoms, and they're like, "Oh, you're getting tested regardless." I get it; they might have it, but it's like, why don't
Well,
we
I mean, I don't see the point.
people that are coughing and sneezing
Yeah,
like
I
those
don't
guys?
I don't see why they're complaining about being tested. If they're like if the complaint was being taken out for no symptoms versus being tested for no symptoms, I'm like, shouldn't I thought everyone's being tested regardless, just because you're getting all together. Like the test
That
is it's not like
that's
it's
what
an
they want.
expensive test.
That's what they kind of want to change. They want it to the
Yeah.
point where if I'm feeling 100%, I have no symptoms. Let me into the room. I'll play. I understand why they're still doing the test because again, as you said, asymptomatic, you can still technically spread it.
Hmm.
But a lot of these guys are like, listen, I'm feeling 100%. Now I'm sitting out a game because I don't have the symptoms. So
Yeah.
that's where the that tug of war is happening
Yeah.
between league, the owners, GMs, and players.
Yeah.
So that's the big issue right now. That because I think I don't know what the actual number is, but there's a huge amount of these players that have tested positive.
Mhm.
They have zero symptoms, or they might have like a cough, and they're being held out. It's not
Yeah.
like they're not affected like a flu. So it's
Well, it's
I see the frustration,
they're not being held up for the symptom. They're being held out for testing positive to the virus, right?
but that's where they
The
want to be.
symptom doesn't matter. If they tested negative but were having a coughing fit, they'd let them play because that's they're not they don't
Yeah,
give a shit about a
true,
cold, right? They give a
very
shit
true.
about a virus, right? Like
Yep.
it's such a touchy subject. It's so
Oh yeah.
hard, but you can't shut down again.
No.
But it's like you were saying, these guys are multimillionaires, but the owners lost a ton of money. The players lost a ton of money, losing a lot of ton of their time. I don't think they can shut down just as much as you can't shut down um, restaurants and stuff again. completely.
No,
Like
because you're going to cripple
it
the
won't
economy.
survive. It's barely it hasn't recovered at all. They're just
Well, I think
they're just starting to like feel normalcy again. And I already knew the winter was going to be bad. Because in the summer you can take advantage of going outside, having outdoor patios and all that stuff. Um, I definitely living in Ontario. Our government is not doing a good job. Absolutely, probably the
they're
worst of
off.
anybody. Um, my my fiance works at a hospital. She works for Hamilton Health Sciences, and they were supposed to get free testing kits for Christmas. They're like, "Oh, we'll give everybody a free home testing kit so you can test your friends and family, get people over." She went there Monday morning at 8 a.m. They were out. Fucking joke.
Check, check Kijiji. They're probably being sold there.
They are. They are on eBay and stuff. Oh, it's such a joke.
Maybe the Arizona Coyotes owner is doing that to help try to pay for the arena.
Oh, it's genius.
Probably making a boatload.
Oh yeah, probably. Just like
But
how long until the toilet paper starts going on sale on Kijiji and stuff again?
I
Remember
don't think
that?
we'll ever hit that point again.
Oh, do you remember when we were at that point? Holy man.
That was that was the weirdest part of my life. Hearing that people are selling it for quadruple the value. I'm like, come on.
Guys gotta poop.
Still.
Yeah.
Uh, Hopefully though, as of I think it's the 26th or 27th. They plan on opening up the games again.
27th, I believe.
Hopefully, fingers crossed, knock on wood, that we can get into a spot with if a couple players are out, that's fine, but we don't have it where I think there's the last I checked, I'm pretty sure 7 or 8 Avs had it. The Leafs got up to about 6 or 7. The Senators added about 4 others just either today or yesterday, so they're having COVID hell again. Like it's getting crazy, but hopefully as of December 27th, they can kind of hit that peak, start getting that downtick,
Hmm.
get the players back in, and kind of leads into our I guess our next topic.
Yeah.
Use that 2 weeks without the Olympics to get caught up with the games that we've missed over the last week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah. So, as Chase said, the NHL has officially announced that there will be no NHL players at the 2022 Olympics. Um, yeah, we knew it was gonna happen. I honestly like when they started mentioning what the protocols were, and realistically, I don't know if you'd want to go there right now. Like with what's going, not even COVID related, like the government stuff. Would you? I don't know if you'd
Yeah,
want to stay there or not. I don't want to get too political, but like, ugh.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, the some of their protocols, we were talking about it before the podcast. They have to, if you get tested positive. So say how long are the for hockey in the Olympics? It's about 2 weeks, 2, 3 weeks, right?
yeah. I would say more like like 2.5, 3 weeks. Yeah, you're accurate.
Yeah, so let's go low. Say you're there for 2 weeks. Say you test positive on the last day. You can be if you test positive, you can be held in the country for 3 to 5 weeks. So that's potentially 7 weeks you're away from your family, you're away from your team. You're in a um, country that's sketchily run, to put it nicely, at the moment. I wouldn't want to be stuck there against my will. And it's not like they're stuck there for 7 weeks as like a vacation. They're stuck in 7 weeks in a tiny little box of a room
Quarantining,
doing, pardon me,
quarantining.
quarantining. Um, and James and I talked about it a couple of weeks ago. We were watching Agent Provocateur with Adam Walsh, and they were talking about, for every $1 million a NHL player makes, they make $300,000, and they're paid per like per day kind of thing. Like they're paid as in they're working like 266 days or something like that. So if you take away 7 weeks of that, that's if you're making $8 million or whatever. That's a lot of money coming out of your pocket 7 weeks out of that 266 days. That's a lot. So that's financial. You're in a sketchy country and you're away from your family for 7 weeks. A lot of these guys aren't that much older or that much younger than us. Some of them have families, and if they have families, typically they're pretty young kids.
Yeah.
Like if you have a 4-year-old or a 3-year-old, you want to be away from that kid for 7 weeks.
No, not at all.
Like I before we all talked about it. I was it you or James that was kind of like, yeah, it's not happening, and
James has been on the my wave of they're not going
yeah,
for at least a solid month and a half, if not
yeah,
longer. If you go
and
back watch a few
hmm,
episodes, I'm like, they're going.
yeah,
Let's get this going, and then every week passes by, I start doing this. I
just
start
get less and less enthusiastic.
maybe they'll go. Following week, I don't know if they're gonna go
Hmm,
next week. It doesn't look like they're
no,
going. So
it's
it's been
set.
a roller coaster for the players, fans,
Yeah,
GMs, and even the IOC. Like they luckily the NHL did it before the deadline that they were given,
yeah,
but it
it
still
sucks.
sucks. Like
It does suck.
you're sitting there, you're about to get some money out of this, like a little bit more, even though it's in Beijing. The time change is going to be different. People aren't watching the game live, but having the NHL players, you can kind of market a little bit more.
The NHL
And you know,
actually make a lot of money off of it. I don't even think that they don't even get money for the. I think they get money off of the partial jersey sales, and that's about it.
yeah, they're not making enough,
No,
and
it's they typically lose money because they lose star players to go play in the Olympics, and then if one of
so
them gets hurt, then um, I don't think they insure them, or they have to. I'm not sure how it works, but they're not
well,
fully
the last
insured.
time they went, the team's insurance still covered any injuries that the
Yeah,
players had. There's been
yeah,
some instances where forget what year it was. I'm pretty sure it was Tavares went to the Olympics and got a pretty bad knee injury and missed about 5 months. Pretty much clean him out for the rest of the year.
yeah. I
Well,
remember that. I think I
that was
remember
on
that.
the Islanders' bill. They had to pay for that. So
Yeah,
the big one of the big things this year going in for the NHL, NHLPA, and the double IHF was we're not covering them.
no.
So if you're going on your own. So
Even
the IIHF had to have like I think you stated before, they had a little bit of a bank
yeah,
of
if a five
cash
million
pool.
dollar a $5 million pool for salary loss in case of positive testing.
So like you had some coverage, but it's one of those things where the teams they don't want to spend the money to have a player maybe possibly lose out for the rest of the year. Like
Because
it's a tough, but
it's not even losing money on paying for their hospital bills or their recovery. If um let's take Colorado for instance. Um they they want to win a cup. They are a cup contender. Say McKinnon breaks his femur at the Olympics.
you had to go for that extreme of an injury.
I don't know why femur came into my head.
You better
Um
knock on wood it doesn't happen now for any games. I don't care
okay.
that they're not going to Olympics.
Okay. Let's say Austin Matthews' wrist, like whatever he did to his wrist, explodes. Like blows up.
I'm knocking on wood for you that that doesn't
Thank you.
happen.
I'm trying to even out the universe here.
Yeah,
But
okay.
but
I
say
see where you're going.
something okay, you know what? Let's say just to make everybody happy, Marchand, let's say he falls down and breaks his ankle. Because no one likes Marchand,
That
right?
heals.
Yeah. Um, say the Bruins are going on a run. If you lose one of your best players or a star player on that team, it doesn't matter how much the recovery is. That's not the big thing. Is you losing one of your best players and then the drive that means you could lose out on playoff um, playoff revenue. That's the biggest thing.
Yep.
You don't if the Leafs don't have Matthews and Marner's still out, maybe they do a dive and maybe less people go to the games and maybe they lose out of the playoff spot and then they don't go to the playoffs and then a whole whack of thing could happen to any team if you lose your
Yep.
star player, star two players. That's it.
Jersey
That
sales, t-shirt
jersey
sales, merch.
sales. Yeah.
Yep.
Like it's a risk letting them go anytime. But now even worse, he doesn't get injured, but you lose a star player for 7 weeks, and it's gonna be a star player. It's the Olympics. All the star players are going. You're not losing a fourth liner.
Yeah. You're not
uh,
losing a Pat Maroon.
no, you're you're losing a Crosby. You're losing a McDavid. You're losing a Marchand. Like if someone doesn't come back for because of a positive test, it's gonna hurt whatever team they're from
Yes.
massively.
Yep.
So I get not going. The protocols are really rough. Um, Cases are going up. China is not the place you want to be to begin with for that long, especially being held against your will by the government.
Yes.
Um, I get all of it, and it sucks. I would have loved to see it, and we were talking about it before. We are robbed of a Crosby, McKinnon, Marner line. Um,
Well, that wouldn't be the line.
Good.
Crosby would be with Bergeron and Marchand because that line, for some reason, when they go in international play, it's unstoppable.
Yeah.
They have wicked chemistry. I I personally think it would have been McDavid
Oh, sorry.
and
I said
Hubert,
Crosby. I meant McDavid. And McDavid.
but I with all this coming out, I'm somewhat happy that it's not happening. So I am disappointed that we don't get to see, and my boss is the same way. We're losing time to see McDavid and Crosby play together on the same international team. That sucks, and that would be unrealistic because that power play that they could put together would just be filthy. But this is what I'm hoping for, and this is a theory that I'm kind of hoping does happen. Is the NHL brings back the World Cup, hopefully for 2023. I would
A little
love to see it in
controversial.
the summer of 2022.
Hmm.
But I want to see it in 2023 to take over for the players going to the Olympics
Hmm.
because now the NHL controls jersey sales, ticket sales. They can pick and choose where the games are going instead of having to send teams to Beijing, China. I get it, they're trying to grow the game, but you don't, right now, China's not the greatest place to put it, or going to Italy, it's not going to grow it enough.
Hmm.
So you can actually pick and choose where you go. And if they do this, they have a greater ability to reach more people the way that they want to reach them. You get the exposure you want to do for the TV rights, but there's two things I changed what they did for the last World Cup. You do not have the Team North America, the U23 team. As fun as was it to
Yeah.
watch those guys fly around together, you need those guys because now there's a lot of under 23 guys that can go and play for Team Canada, Team USA, Team Sweden. So make it the same teams that were going to go to the Olympic tournament, they go to this World Cup as Canada, Sweden, USA, Slovakia, Norway, Switzerland. Like those teams go, but each year you move it. So year one, 2023, Toronto, since that's been their base. 2024, take it to the States, pick a hub there. The following year, pick Sweden, pick Russia. So that way you get to choose where the games go. You're controlling all the jersey sales, all the tickets that floods into the NHL to bring revenue, and then you can use that to build the game and help bring more excitement to whatever it is.
I'd go to those
That would
games
be that would be my opinion because then now the Olympics, which is supposed to be amateur athletes,
and stay
you can
amateur athletes.
send amateur
Yeah.
athletes because the Olympics is a little more outdated now. But that's my opinion. That's my
Yeah.
theory. People will fight me on it, and good. Like,
Yeah.
there's
Like
no right or wrong answer for this
no,
scenario
no. I mean,
because it's fuck.
it's a controversial thing. I agree and disagree. Like I
Yep.
agree. Like the one thing, it'd be nice to play. Like some of these guys would love to play for the country. Like one thing this sucks for, who this sucks for, Steven Stamkos, man. Poor guy cannot catch a break.
Yeah, because has he missed the
He
last?
he's always injured. He always gets massively injured right before
Yeah, because he
every
missed
single.
2014 and 2018 with
Yes, he
injuries,
did.
didn't he?
Yeah, the poor guy
Poor guy,
cannot catch a break, and he's healthy this year for once.
and playing extremely well.
Yeah, and this is might like how old is Stamkos now?
Let me double check before I say it because I want to say he is in and around the age of 30. 34 now,
Yeah,
but
because that's what I was thinking too. So this is the last chance he could have had. You're not having 38-year-old Steven Stamkos.
okay. Well, I was way off, so my mind is apparently not with it tonight. He's 31, so there's still a
Okay,
chance,
okay, so he has one more shot essentially. Like, but
but
it
that's
sucks.
if my
Steven
team doesn't.
Stamkos is a like a top like he could go on the second line, right? But if he goes in next time, he's gonna be like a fourth liner, which really sucks. He didn't get to play in his prime.
Yeah,
He could still be part of it,
there's still
but
some players like you look at a Crosby though, he's now reaching, I believe he'd be about
33,
34,
34. Yeah. Yeah,
33,
but like it's Crosby.
but
And
he's also got a bunch of injuries as well, but he's still able to keep that ability.
but
Stamkos is still a great goal
yeah,
scorer.
but not everybody has that, right? Like the older you get, the bigger chance you have of getting, knocked out of Team Canada. Because let's face it, Team Canada have a lot of people to choose from. Canadians are
And
pretty good at hockey,
and with all the young talent now coming up and how quick the game's getting, yeah, I can see that. And
but
just for a check, Crosby is 34.
yeah, they might let him in though. Like it might be like a yeah, come on, it's Steven Stamkos. He never got a chance. Put him in like the fourth line, and that
13th
might
forward, move him up and down the lineup wherever you need him.
yeah, it just sucks for him. Like you said, he's healthy and he's playing great this year.
Yeah.
It's a pain in the ass, but whatever.
Fortunately, that's what, and like there's other guys like around the league, like not even focusing on Canada. Like you got to look at, well, actually, the states right now, their Olympic team was going to be pretty young,
Yeah,
but if you have a lot of good talent there, Canada was going to be one of actually the older teams because you'd have Petrangelo on the back end, Crosby, Bergeron right there. Those three bring up the average age, but or even Fleury if he was the starting goalie, being 36. So the U.S. team was going to be young, but problem with that is when you're going to a tournament, if you're going to be playing the powerhouse Canadians, there's a lot of veteran leadership that have been in big games where the states wouldn't have. So when it got down to the nitty gritty, I think still that veteran leadership would reign supreme because they'd have that calming effect.
yeah.
But
But yeah,
oh well,
that's that. No Olympics this year. Better luck next time, Stamkos.
yeah, but
But on to a little bit of better news. We do have a little bit of hockey coming up.
we do as
Yeah,
boxing,
yeah.
the favorite tournament of most hockey fans out there, the World Juniors. Canada kicks off Boxing Day at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, which would be about 5 o'clock Western Time, against the Czechs. So that should be a really good turn to watch. Canada's got a couple of returning players, but they have a lot of great young talent going.
I'm excited.
Um, it's going to be wicked. Like a couple of the key players I have on my board to watch the entire time. The right now consensus number one overall pick, Shane Wright. Kid
Mhm.
is just tearing up the OHL with the Kingston Frontenac. He just the vision and hands he has in his release, it's unreal. And we have a 16-year-old alert. Only I think he's the fifth or sixth 16-year-old to play for Team Canada at the World Juniors. Connor Bedard. He is right now skating as the 13th forward, but hopefully we see him get a little bit more ice than most 13 forwards we've seen because again, the kid is extremely shifty, great hands, vision, speed, and you can't underestimate his shot too for being a smaller guy. There's Cole Perfetti, the prospect from the Winnipeg Jets. He's another one that's kind of, I would say he's a little bit more towards a Cole Caulfield in the sense that he plays again a little bit smaller, but he's got that. He's got the hands. He's got the shot. So if you give him that extra little bit of a time in the slot, you're done. And then one for any Sabres fans out there that if you're looking for any type of light at the end of the tunnel, Owen Power, big Canadian
Yeah.
boy on the back end, smooth skater, hits like a Mack truck, but can also jump into the rush and pot a few goals. So those four right there, those are my key players to watch.
Man, I if you're the Sabres, when do you bring him up?
Well, right now he's still at the University of Michigan.
Yeah, because
So
well, some people theorize he didn't want to play for Buffalo. So he went to school. I mean, if that was the case, I kind of would have done the
I
same.
don't know, just because it's very similar to Cale Makar.
Hmm.
He was drafted out of the Alberta Junior A League, and
Yeah.
instead of jumping right to the Avs, he went to the University of Massachusetts, UMass Lowell, if I remember correctly. Um, and he played 2 years there and then came up.
Yeah, but like,
So
I'm just
some D are there. Some of the defensemen though, they like to play an extra year in college to build their body a little bit more, play against the older kids before making the jumps. They're more effective when they come up. But I wouldn't be surprised. He looked at where the Sabres were this year and went, Michigan's got a great shot at a national title, so I'm going to go back.
because
They could win the Frozen Four, so I'm in.
so like I don't know exactly how this works. You know what? I'm just gonna write something down really
Yeah,
quick. So for if you are if you get drafted, you
yeah,
would know you. I'm glad you're here because this is a question I want to ask you. So if, say you get drafted for the Buffalo Sabres.
yes.
Say your name is Poen Hour
Poe and
and
Al.
Poen
Okay.
Hour, Poen Hour. So say
Yes, I changed my name right away.
So, Poe and Hour. You haven't had a chance to go change your name yet. Everyone knows
Okay.
you as Poe and Hour. You get
Okay.
drafted by the last year's Buffalo Sabres.
Okay.
You obviously look at the team, don't want to play for them right now, but you're signed. Can you wait the 3 year? Because he signed for 3 years. Am I right? He's got
He
a
hasn't
three.
signed his DLC yet.
Okay, so how do if he doesn't want to play for the Sabres, can he just? Is there a certain amount of time he has to wait before they lose their rights or someone else can sign him? Like, if he does not want to play for the Sabres and he's like, I would play for any other team in the league, I am more than happy to finish off my university and go to university and get my bachelor's.
Yeah.
And he's there till he's 21 or 2021. He's an amazing hockey player, so anyone would want to take him. Can he wait 2, 3 years until Buffalo loses the rights to get signed by fucking Calgary or something as
There is.
like a free, like does he go to a free agency or okay? So how does that work?
So I'm just trying to see if I can pull it up quick here. Um, because I forget the time frame because this has actually happened a couple times before. The
Because
last
the
notable
only thing
player
I can think about is like Lindros essentially not showing, and that's the only
no,
thing I can think of.
so the Lindros thing was he got drafted and literally told the Quebec organization that I am not reporting.
Yeah.
I will never play a game for you. So Quebec said, okay, we'll trade you. And that deal became a friggin' steal for the Quebec Nordique / Colorado Avalanche because it involved Peter Forsberg, picks and cash.
Yeah.
Um, but the last notable person was Blake Wheeler, was drafted by the Arizona Coyotes in '04, and he became an unrestricted free agent. I'm just trying to see if I can find. Um, and then there is also a bit of a compensation that goes back to
It's
the.
kind of like signing oh
It's like signing an RFA,
yeah,
but it's not as big of a thing. Where is it?
or like an offer sheet kind of thing.
Yeah, I think because he went back and played college. I think if it's I think I want to say it's 2 to 3 years. If you don't sign within that time frame, you can opt to either hit free agency or try to re-enter the draft. If I
Oh.
remember correct, I'll have to double check with my brother because he has that to a T. Because being a Bruins fan, Wheeler opted for free agency. Bruins signed him.
Mhm.
So I believe if you get drafted, I want to say it's a year because Same thing happened with what's his face? Frederick Anderson. He was
Oh, did
drafted by
it?
Carolina, didn't sign, entered the draft again, and got drafted third round by the Ducks. So I believe it's a year. It's a year or 2 years. You can sit out and re-enter the draft or go as a free agent.
If you were him, would you do that then? I would do that. Like how
I I wouldn't.
you wouldn't re-enter the draft, or you wouldn't go to free agency, or
I'd stick it out with the Sabres. The only reason why is they have Rasmus Dahlin.
uh-huh.
They have Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen in net, who is right now before the pause was playing out of his mind and had I think very close to a 500 record, if not 500 around the nose. And then you also now have Alex Tuck.
Hmm.
There is some good young forwards up front in Thompson, Asplin. I'm missing one off the top of my head, and I'm gonna kick myself for forgetting this one. But there's the pieces there, so they can build around it. It's just they have to make the right moves, and I think Owen Power is going to be that next piece that helps them make that push because now you're gonna have an unbelievable top pair of, if you want to keep them that way, of Darlene and Power. And you have your starting goalie now. So you have three pieces right there on the back end. And then you're just going to be adding more because you've added picks from the Eichel trade.
Yeah.
There's
Like
free agency. I think it's going to be a slow rebuild, but I'd rather be part of it than
yeah, but they've
sit
been
back,
they've been
re-enter, and
touting
then
they've been touting rebuild for like 15 years.
yes, but they're actually doing it properly this time. Because look at the last calendar season before Hall got traded. They're like rebuild. Then that offseason hit when Hall became a free agent. They rushed out, paid him $8 million, thinking, haha, that fixed our problem. They're not doing that this year
Mm.
or this time around. They're actually going to draft and actually bring pieces in. They might go and try to sign like a bit of a veteran
Yeah.
at a high ticket just to help get the excitement again. But if I'm actually try to stick that out. Some
I
people will
I
say,
if it's a
go ahead.
1 year, if it's only a 1 year thing, I would wait and hit free agency next year. Anyone would take him. And we're in a
Oh, anyone would.
cap cap strapped league. He's gonna make minimum. He was number one draft pick, right? Yeah, he was number one. Any
Uh,
or one or two.
he would have been one.
Yeah, he was one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was number one. Anyone would want to take him, and I would, as long as it's not Buffalo or Arizona, like he would be much better
Well,
off.
because of his age, he would only make the max he could make would be 925,
Yeah,
like 9 point or like the 925K
yeah,
because he's
yeah. But I'm saying if you make that 925 somewhere better than Buffalo, where like that at least like you're not just getting slammed every single night. Like I don't
well,
know,
not
man.
saying like, I think he'll sign regardless after this year because I think once you sign your ELC contract, you can't go back to college because now you're a pro player.
Yeah, yeah.
Can't go back. But just to kind of put things in perspective for this kid, he's 6'6", 197 pounds.
Shit.
He's a big boy that can move, but playing for the University of Michigan right now, uh, he's played 18 games and he's got 23 points as a defenseman in the NCAA.
Yeah, he's good.
Those numbers are solid. So he's only getting better as he keeps progressing, and it's
Yeah.
because his first year at Michigan, 26 games, 16 points. So you're already seeing the upswing for him. So it's going to be. I think he sticks out so that way he can almost an ego thing. Like I helped turn the team around.
Yeah, I've seen how Buffalo does this. I've read this story
Oh yeah.
before, and I don't think they know what they're doing. It's almost kind of like Edmonton. They're just kind of like, we have McDavid and Draisaitl. We don't have to do anything. Like it's set, right? Like everything's good. Like it's fine. Like I think management's screwing up that team. I personally wouldn't want to be a part of it until I see some kind of upswing. Um, I
Well,
don't know. This
They're not the worst. Like Buffalo's not the worst team in the league. They're
no, but after the whole fiasco with Eichel and hearing how badly he was treated and stuff like that, would you want to be on that
yeah.
team and get an injury and have to go through that? Like I'd be
I would.
terrified.
I'd have to meet like, and if I'm in his shoes, I would be requesting meetings with every person that's a decision maker,
Yeah,
just to hear their plan
yeah,
before making that full decision. But I think he signs instead.
yeah. Like he's in the position now that he doesn't need them, they need him.
Yes.
Yes. You're a number one draft pick. Any team would be glad to sign you to a league min deal, especially in a league where the cap is barely moving, and everybody needs a dude six defenseman that can put up points. Yes, please.
Yeah, I will take that any day of the week.
Uh,
But fortunately, this was. But one thing though for Canada, one game that I will definitely be tuning in. I would recommend anyone listening would be the New Year's Eve game at 7 o'clock. They're playing Finland.
Finland?
Unfortunately, once again, Canada and the states are not in the same bracket or same division. So we do not get we go another year without a Canada U.S. New Year's Eve game, which I feel like that should be a staple for
It
all
really
World Junior
should be.
tournaments. Because those to me, like growing up, it was for my family was going. You go bowling at 4, 5 o'clock.
Mhm.
You make sure we haul ass home, so we're in front of the TV to watch Canada U.S. World Juniors New Year's Eve. So I miss that, but at least we get to see them play a good team. Finland's going to
Yeah,
be strong.
Finland's good.
I don't know many of the players on the team, but they're still. Reed's told me quite a bit about it, and he's a walking encyclopedia of European hockey.
He's just a
So
walking encyclopedia of hockey, anything. Jesus.
I don't know how he's so smart for sometimes being so dumb, but
Oh, I think the same thing about you all the time with hockey.
well,
That's what.
I'm a
That's why I,
goalie, so I put on the pucks hit me in the face.
dude. Anything that's not NHL, if I have any question that's not NHL related, AHL, OHL, double, like anything, I'm like, well, gotta ask Chase. My
Well, I get information from Reed.
Yeah, I know. So you like absorb it through osmosis. So you're
Yeah,
an insane, crazy hockey encyclopedia. So he's on another level of you. I wouldn't be able to hold a conversation with him.
you could give him a random year Bruins roster from now until I think it's 72. Ask him who the leading scorer was for the Boston Bruins in like 77. He'll tell you without
Yo,
even
we should we should totally have him on the podcast and do that. And we should like just
oh,
have like we're like okay, we're gonna pick 10 years at random between now and 1970 and 1980, and you have to say who the leading scorer is.
you could just come up with the most absurd questions, like just out there. He probably will have the answer for you.
Probably. I mean, you do most of the time, and apparently he knows more than you, which is crazy.
Oh, it's wild, wild man. Because when I've
But
called a couple of OEL games with him,
yeah,
I'm struggling to try to figure out who's who. This guy barely looks down at the roster the entire game. His face is straight on the ice. I'm like, how do you know this?
freaking
It could be a
insane.
team he's seen once this like in the year, and he knows the names like that. I'm like, you dick.
That's a pro, man. That is a pro.
Oh, if we ever get picked up like to a bigger audience, and there's an NHL team that somehow looks at it, Reed Duthie, sign him. It won't be. I'm not saying this because I'm his brother. He deserves to be in NHL as a play-by-play guy.
Absolutely. I've been to a bunch. I've been to a couple of those games that he's called. Exciting. Like he's fun to listen to, and his commercial. He's guys. Hey, NHL, if you listen, he's
Oh,
in commercials. You want a good guy in your commercials? He doesn't. He's not just the voice. He's the actor as well. Chase, you want to like paint us a word picture of his last commercial?
it involves him riding a bike down the the Hamilton Bay bike path, falling over, and somehow catching the Alexa tool out of the basket on the front, while wearing a button-up shirt, blue jeans, and dress shoes. we're just gonna leave that right there out there for the audience to picture in their head. Maybe we can get a screen grab and we'll put it up as a post.
I will see if I can get a screen grab and put that up.
I'll get him to
That
send me the video and we'll get a
yes,
screen grab.
please. Gotta get that out there. Gonna write that down. I got a little notepad whenever we do one of these podcasts, and I just write down little timestamps for when I want to insert, pictures or stats or something. So I just put at 40:45, read. And that's REED, not READ.
Or I. The
Or
I
I.
is where everyone always gets it wrong, and he gets a little. He does get frustrated, but he's like, "Come on, man!" But it's the common way of spelling read for a name, REID.
I didn't know Reed was a name until I met your brother, but like whatever.
Eh?
Yeah. So I only
He
know the
suits
one
it.
way. Yeah. Anyway,
Oh yeah,
um, back
back to
to back
yeah.
to our podcast. Now that we're done advertising your brother, um,
Bulldogs right there. OHL. Watch it.
it's good.
Um, back to the HL. I guess we can talk about the Jeremy Lauzon hit from the 18th.
Yes, yes. So, we had a couple of shows where we've discussed the officiating in the NHL. We've discussed a lot of people getting carried off stretchers, a lot of big hits, a lot of them clean, but just the way the game's played, a lot of big hits. This was not one of the clean ones, in my
Ooh.
opinion. Wasn't called, no suspension in front of the ref. Tell me if you've heard this before. I'm gonna put a screen grab down below. It's a dirty hit. So
Yeah.
do you want to
Unfortunately,
kind of describe it?
yeah. So unfortunately, because I personally like him as a defenseman because I watched him with the Bruins from
Hmm.
watching with my dad and brother. Jeremy Lauzon, who normally plays a pretty good game, was going to the corner with Colton Sevier from the Edmonton Oilers. And as Sevier was reaching for the puck, his numbers were clearly shown, name bar two. Lauzon puts his arm and elbow right to the back of the numbers and extends out and pushes Sevier face first into the glass just above the dasher. I'm going to say this just as a safety precaution. So I'm not saying this justifies it, but thank God his face was above the dasher
Hmm.
and hit the glass. Because if he gets pushed face first in the dasher, I've seen it happen. Senior A hockey in Stony Creek. I've seen it happen in NHL. I've seen it at multiple levels. The amount of damage that dasher can do to a player's face is just horrifying. So thank God his face hit the glass, as bad as that sounds.
Yeah.
But it's still a dirty hit. You can anytime you see the numbers, you see the nameplate, please, 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 if you're a hockey player watches, do not continue to hit. Take them into the boards with both hands, kind of thing, and pin them. That's fine. The minute you make contact, you hit and you extend out. That has got to be called as 5 minutes for boarding or a check from behind. It's got to be a game misconduct. It's got to be a suspension. I don't care who the player is. They've got to start calling it because that's the hit we're trying to get out of the game to
Yeah.
save these guys' careers.
No reason if you want to still make the hit, no reason you can't go slightly to the side and then hit him on the side. No
Hit the
reason.
shoulder.
Yeah, hit the shoulder. If he's looking down, go if he's here, just slightly go to the right and then knock him off the puck. He's not gonna hit the glass, he's gonna hit his butt off the ice,
Yep.
and it's a lot safer. And you get to make your hit.
Yep.
Just
I,
it's
it's
dumb.
just it's one of those things. Like I understand, like when you're in that moment, the adrenaline's going, you're trying to make the play, but take that split second and see what is showing. Because we don't want to go to what minor hockey does and put stop sign patches right on the top of the shoulders. Because it looks stupid and it doesn't work. People still get hit from behind with those things. So just take that split second, either ride them into the boards and pin them, take a different line, see if you can catch him trying to make the turn, get him on the shoulder. It's going to be the safest play going forward.
Yeah, and the fact that there was no penalty, no suspension afterwards either. It's like you said, we got to get that out of the game. And I thought that was the whole thing this year about like we're gonna crack down. Come on.
It's almost like every year when they say they're going to crack down on something, they pick one specific penalty, and
Yeah,
that's what they focus on.
yeah.
Cross check, the big one this year. that's great. But I was watching, what game was I watching? I forget now. And it wasn't even an Avs game. It was just a random one. I witnessed a defenseman lay four major cross checks on the guy's kidney.
Yeah,
No
it's
call. It's like you just said you're cracking out, and then you see a guy come through the corner and just give him like a little push. The arm goes up. It's like, give me some type of justification or what you're thinking on why the other four weren't and that one was. We need continuity throughout what you're calling here.
we
Is
keep
what I
saying
keep
that
saying.
every time we bring up the NHL officiating. That's what we keep saying. It's like explain the controversial calls, explain the incredibly bad missed ones, and then we'll have an idea of like, oh, that's why they're calling it that way, or oh, he's an idiot, suspend him because this ref doesn't know what he's doing. Like,
Yeah.
have you seen those NHLPA started releasing like moment to moment call by calls of why they suspend a player now? They're hilarious.
I, like what Sheriff Shanny did when he was. See, he did the best ones, in my opinion. But I'm glad they're starting to do this again because they need to do that
Hmm.
because this is where the like, I get it. It's not coming from the official, but I know, and I'm hoping they do the same thing in the NHL because I've never really asked one of the officials that I've sharpened skates for about this. But in men's league, I know if there's a fight or a game misconduct or a suspension coming up, after the game, they go into the ref room on the score sheet. They write out why they're the suspension. It is what it is, and then the team rep for men's league gets an email with kind of like a breakdown. Hopefully, what they're explaining via the rule book is somewhat of what the ref is communicating. Okay, this is the hit, but until I get, I'll look it up and hopefully I'll I'll make a note for it. So next week we can kind of circle back to this and I'll check the rules to see if they're actually doing that. Because if they do that, then why aren't we getting the proper justification for some of the missed calls? That's what I want to know.
It's not the refs doing it. It's just the player safety. The refs have nothing to do with it.
They
It's
should
the
be, and this is where they should be like literally talking together and doing it as one unit so we can get that continuity across the board.
well, they know that the refs don't know what they're doing, so they have to, have people that know what they're doing in those conversations. So
That's why
they
you get that knows what they're doing. Like
no,
for player safety. Like
yeah,
Sheriff Shanley would not allow that to happen.
yeah,
George
it,
Peros, I don't like him. Really don't.
yeah, it's
Guy's
yeah.
very bad.
I don't think he should be the head of player safety.
No, especially with his career.
No, exactly. It's kind of ironic, but what are you gonna do? It's not going to get fixed anytime soon. It'll get fixed when someone gets, like we said, someone's going to get seriously injured. I mean, people are getting seriously injured, but it's going to take like an even bigger one for them to be like, oh, what we're doing isn't working.
No, and knock on wood, that's not the case, but
It
it's trending.
you
It's
you
trending
know
strongly.
you know exactly that's the case.
Yep.
They're not gonna change anything until they get in a lot of trouble.
Yep.
And the fans getting mad at them, telling them that they're idiots isn't enough trouble. People getting people messing up their legs from knees that aren't being called, and headshots out of retaliation isn't enough. It's going to be one of those retaliatory hits causes the guy to crack his head open on the ice, and then they're going to be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay." And as bad as it sounds, that's what it's going to take to change things because the NHL is just run by a bunch of old men that don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, they're not adjusting enough to the new pace and a new style of play.
No.
So
Yeah. All right.
crazy
Well,
world we're living in with that.
it's a very crazy world we're living in. Um, in other news, I'm going to get away from the officiating a little bit. Uh, Earlier in the season, we talked about how like the whole thing with Arizona not being able to pay their bills, they might have to move out of the arena and stuff like that. Well, Calgary just actually backed out of their arena. They're supposed to be getting a new arena, and the deal was about like $650 million, and now they're backing out of that.
Yes. So it originally, like when it first was signed, it was going to be 550 mil. But with the way that obviously there's always more costs that come up when you're trying to build something like this and
Yeah.
never going to stay the same price. because
No.
they can do the whole inflation and whatnot. But the biggest thing, I'm gonna try to pull it up here quickly. Um, Give me 2 seconds because I was reading about it last night. The increase about 50 mil. Apartment. Oh, City and the NHL franchise added 12 cost overrun. Yeah. Where the heck is it? Because it was something to do with accessibility into the rink. Flames are backing out of the deal due to the additional fee of about 9.7 million, considering climate migration and road/sidewalk rights right of way issues. So it
Huh?
almost seems like they found some of the most softest way of backing out of a new arena deal. Because you're telling me you literally had 50 million add on to the bill, and then after everything's said and done, it goes up another 50 mil. So the arena now goes up 100 million, but 9.7 million dollars for climate migration and sidewalk.
Well, it's like the straw that broke the camel's back kind of thing, right?
But
Like you can't eventually if you keep pushing for more money for a deal that's already been done, eventually it's going to be enough,
yeah,
right?
but that Saddle Dome is now reaching the point where you're going to have to do some major renos because it is one of the oldest rinks in the league now.
So I don't know what
And
they're going to do.
we're seeing this in Hamilton with First Ontario. They're budgeting a specific amount, but I forget the full amount that the one I think it's Marcani Group that's going to be doing the renos. Especially for it's going to be a lot more once they start opening up walls in that building
Hmm.
because that thing was built in
A long
late
time
'70s, early '80s,
ago. Yeah.
and that thing like the piping is horrendous underneath the ice. So you open up the Saddle Dome if you're going to keep staying there, you're going to have to do some renos. So that's going to be the same thing. But I understand that the same thing too is okay, like you gotta cut the tie there. Is like, okay, if we're gonna have them to keep adding money, and some of it now has got to be reallocated to something that they don't believe in or something that's gonna hurt the accessibility for fans to get into the rink, then yeah, make the adjustment. But come on, you begged for a new arena for almost 10 years. In this now a new economy, you're gonna be paying more than you think. So
Well, I
to me,
mean,
it's
yeah, they paid an extra $100 million more than they thought.
but yeah, to me, it's just one of those things I kind of find funny more now. It's just like last night I was kind of like I was puzzled, but I find funny that they begged for this new rink. Now that this all happened, it's like yeah, we'll stay at the Saddle Dome, and you're more than happy to do it. It's like, and I think they said they're putting in 250 million for renos, but that budget will definitely go up a lot higher
Yeah,
because
but
that arena's so old.
well, think of it this way: would you be pissed if you what was it originally around $500 million? So
550.
yeah, so it's going up like 20%. Oh, I'd be pissed. Like if you bought a car for 50, if you bought a brand new car for 50 grand, right? That's a lot.
Yeah,
And then you went to go buy it, like actually it's going to be 60. You're personally for me, I would go tell them to kick rocks. But
yeah.
say that you did. Say that you're like fine, okay? And they're like, "Well, it's going to be 60, but we're going to give you like heated seats and it's going to like scratch your ass while you drive and it's going to be great. You're going to love it." It's enticing, eh? But then you go to pick up the
We follow up
car.
with that.
What?
Can we put a patent on that seat right away before
I
Elon
should.
Musk finds out about it?
A little scratch ass thing.
That's great.
Instead of like the little marble things that like roll on your back on the back massagers, it's just that. Uh, but yeah,
Okay, but back point.
so so you buy a car for 50 grand, and then they
Yeah,
say it's gonna be 60. You're gonna get it next month. It's gonna be 60, but we're gonna add all these bells and whistles to it. You'd be like, you know what? Fine, that kind of stuff sounds good. Fine. And then you go pick up the car, like it's gonna be another 5 grand. I'd be like, no, no, you just raised it 20% off of what we agreed on. And you know what? Fine, you added stuff, but then you add on top of that again. Like you if you're gonna do that much of an increase, that's it.
Yeah.
Like you go 20% above our agreed price, and I still say yes. You better be like, thank freaking God,
True.
thankfully he said yes. You don't again like, hey, yeah, I need more on top of that. I'd say no too.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's just for like I look at it this way too: is they begged for this arena.
Mhm.
They begged for it to be kind of more downtown central, so you could do kind of like what a lot of the other big hubs are doing, where they put it in a nice area so you can do like restaurants around and all that kind of stuff. But the fun, like to me, part of the charm of the Flames is the Saddle Dome. The building is shaped like a saddle. It's one of those buildings that it's iconic now in the league. I haven't heard many players complain about it, so
No.
I'm like, hang
So
out in
maybe
it, why not?
maybe renovations
But
are just the better way to go.
maybe. But then I was talking to Reed about it last night, and he had a theory that I thought was absolutely hilarious. And I kind of hope it comes. I kind of hope it's true. Like it comes to fruition. But it's only a theory. This is not. There's no rumblings of any of this. Reed thinks the only reason why they pulled out of the arena deal is Calgary moves to Houston and becomes a Houston Astros, or sorry, Houston Aeros.
Okay.
Then Arizona moves to Calgary and becomes the Flames. That way, there's no realignment. You don't have to shift divisions. Everything is just right there for you.
I
And
love
I
it.
started howling, but he makes a good point. Is Houston has got great TV rights, TV market, but I couldn't help but laugh. It's like, okay, so you're saying they're going to move one team here just to another team back in that arena? And if I'm a Flames fan, if that was to ever happen, I'm pissed.
Yeah.
I lose somewhat of a playoff contender for
For
that big
Arizona.
organization. But hey, you know what? If that happens, I'm never going to doubt a thing that Reed ever says again in his life.
I mean, it's bold. I'll give him
It's a
that. It's bold.
it's a bold statement. Same with my whole. It kind of goes with the whole World Cup thing for me, but I had to say it on the podcast. When he said it to me, I was like, oh god, I got to bring this up.
Yeah. I mean, I I kind of I could see it. Like it makes sense. It's not gonna happen, but it makes sense.
It does make sense,
Yeah.
but
I mean, it makes sense for Arizona to be sold off to Quebec City, but it's not gonna happen.
well,
It makes
the only
sense
issue
for
if you sell Arizona to Quebec City, you have to do real like another realignment
yeah,
because you're taking from the West, and so I don't know why you just wouldn't take Arizona, pick them up, and drop them right into Houston right now.
makes sense.
Done.
Done.
You got the Houston Arrows. Boom. Move them over.
Yeah.
But all I know is I hope the Flames I hope they can do what they want to do with the arena, you know, with the Saddle Dome,
Mm.
and they don't run into any major issues. And all of a sudden, we start hearing now the Flames are struggling to find an arena to play in because this happened, and when they could have just moved forward with the building, even though it's more money. But
Yeah.
if they're going to be happier there, then that's the best option for them right now.
Yeah.
Just stick where you are and play it out.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I think they'll be happier there. Like we're in a time where all these guys are losing money, so keep keep pushing them for more money. Eventually, they're gonna say no. I can't. I'm not doing it. So it makes sense. I'm a cheap ass myself, so it makes total sense to me.
Well, the other thing too is you got to look at it is they're like I think the province of Alberta was putting money in themselves to help get this because they were going to use it for concerts and
Yeah.
make this big whole hub. But at the same time, too, you got to look at where like a province is sitting now and teams. So it might like in the long haul, yeah, it sucks you don't get this new hub. But just think of how much money you just saved not having to put money into the Calgary Flames new arena.
Yeah.
Build a smaller concert hall if you want. Then build your hub around
Yeah.
that. Go for it.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to bring up? Um.
The only other thing that I have, because keep giving it, I should have brought this up while we're talking about the World Juniors, but give this a little bit of a local flavor. Before we jumped on the podcast, you sent me the link for the Lozon hit. When I backed out of it off of Twitter, one of my brother's broadcast partners, Troy Islikar, who does the color for him on the broadcast, tweeted that Jan Mishak, the leading, or well, I guess right now it would be Logan Morrison, who's the leading scorer of the Bulldogs, but one of the big names for the Bulldogs, has been named the team captain for the Czech junior team at the tournament. So on Boxing Day, when we see Canada square off against the Czechs, keep your eyes on Jan Mishak wearing the Czech jersey in the captaincy. That's it's really good to see. Really cool story for the Bulldogs organization as they're trying to become like a London Knight or Guelph Storm in the sense they want to be a destination for players in the O. So that'll definitely help with the development process and help get players in. So keep your eyes open. If you're from the Hamilton area, that's going to be some good hockey to watch, and hopefully he makes the Bulldogs organization proud.
Yeah.
That's all I really
So
got.
yeah. Yeah, it wasn't not much to talk about this week, considering there's no Leaf games to talk about on our Leafs podcast. But there was plenty of stuff to talk about in the league. I kind of alluded to it a little bit. I'm not I'm not the biggest fan of how Edmonton is being run and how they're going to be going in the future. If we want to talk about it a little bit,
Sure.
I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about just like veterans and stuff like that, and like how old you should be to be a veteran, and they mentioned how long McDavid's been in the league, and I'm like, he's been in the league 7 years. Like this is his seventh year,
Yes.
and how much help has Edmonton given him other than Draisaitl? How much help has Edmonton actually given McDavid to win? Like,
I would say Dreisaitl and Isaac Nurse. Not Isaac Nurse, sorry, Darnell. I'm thinking of his cousin Isaac.
yeah,
Darnell, those would be the major
and
pieces.
Hyman.
They brought in Hyman,
They brought in
which
Hyman.
is, and they also brought back Jesse Pugliarvi,
Yes,
who
they did.
was with the squad, went to Finland, found his game again, found the love for hockey, came back. But the whole thing is, when you're trying to help a guy like that win a Stanley Cup, or you want to be the organization that wins the Stanley Cup, you can't have so much attention to your top six, top three in Edmonton, I would say more. And then your bottom
Or just
six
nobody's.
is literally nobody's.
So, Chase, don't look. I want you to name top three goal scorers on the Edmonton Oilers. It's McDavid, Draisaitl, and Hyman. Pretty
Yes.
obvious. There's a bit of a drop off after McDavid. So it goes 23, 17, 11 to Hyman, and then 10 for Puliarvi. Puliarvi. Yeah,
There you go.
yeah. So the depth isn't doing so good. Can you name there are three players with how do I want to do this? Can you name the three next goal scorers on the Oilers? Or
Nugent Nugent Hopkins.
Nugent Hopkins is down the line. Do you want to know where Nugent Hopkins is with goals? So I did this wrong. I did this very wrong. Let me
Okay.
let me start again. So Draisaitl 23, McDavid 17, Hyman 11, Poirier 10.
Okay.
Can you guess where the next person's at? The next after Poirier.
Okay. Um, I'm gonna say he's at. He said Pugliarvi's 10. I want to be a little more optimistic. I'm gonna say 7.
5.
I had 5 in my mind, but I was like, that's too low.
So
That's sad.
do you want to know how between do you want to know how many people have more than 3 goals other than the top 4 guys I mentioned?
Sure.
Can you guess? For
3.
there are Bouchard, Foegel, Yamamoto, and Cassian have 5, 5, 5, and 4 goals, and then it goes 3, 2, and then 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0.
I mean, Evan Bouchard has 5,
Evan Bouchard has 5.
and Fogel has 4.
No, Bouchard has 5, Fogel has 5, Yamamoto has
Oh,
5, and then it just goes down. There's not really any depth scoring on this team.
the
If you
fact
look,
that
if you
the
look at the
fact that
league,
Bouchard is
it's
like fifth or sixth or goal scored for the
yeah.
Edmonton Oilers. That
Because if you look at the Leafs, for instance, it's 20, 13, 13, right? Like erase the top three like we did with Edmonton.
yeah,
8, 7, 7, 6, and then it goes down to 5. Like you have 5 other depth guys above where Edmonton is. Like
yeah,
Edmonton's not getting
you're more balanced.
yeah, you're getting a bit of depth, right? And they're not getting any help, man. Like I don't know. Like I don't see this team doing anything in the playoffs other than getting in and going to the first round, maybe the second round, just off of the coattails of Draisaitl and McDavid.
The
And they don't
only,
seem to have any interest in helping them whatsoever.
well, the problem is they don't have the cap.
No.
So the only way that I could see them doing any damage if they make the playoffs is at the deadline they have to trade for a goalie like Fleury,
Yeah.
who's been there, who's done it, who stood on his head while doing it, and then that allows having a goalie like that allows your team to play with more confidence, and they
Yeah.
can take risks.
Yeah.
But
Because
either way, if you don't have the goal scoring in that bottom six come playoff time, those are the teams that don't win. Like when
exactly,
you
you
hit
need
playoff
depth.
time, the guys that stand out for you are the bottom six
Yeah. Because
because
everyone will
hard
focus
minutes,
on your top
longer
guys.
shot. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And
It's
if you look at their cap friendly, like Darnell Nurse, I like, but oh man,
nine. He's nine
nine.
two five, isn't he? That's high. I would
And
gone eight
that's
and a
not
half.
even this year. That starts next year.
Yeah,
And then I saw a pairing of Barry and CC, or I saw Barry and CC on the same team before. I would not wish that on people. And they're paying 4.5 for Barry, and then 3.25 for CC.
yeah.
Whew.
And the funny thing is, like Tyson Berry, as much as him being a former Av, and I do still like him. Evan Bouchard is a younger, more skilled, and tougher version of Barry. Bouchard can do everything Barry does, but also he block shots and he hits.
Yeah,
So I'd rather have Bouchard in the lineup than Barry and get him out.
yeah. I mean, that would clear up some cap.
Yep.
Yeah, I just don't know what the Edmonton Oilers think they are. I mean, they are Team McDavid Draisaitl. That's their. I mean, I guess that could be your personality, but
Yeah, they're kind of stuck in where Pittsburgh is right now, where they have the pieces to do it per se, but they're missing the depth. So they keep trying to add those league min, 800,000, $900,000 players, but they're not. It's not like the Penguins that keep finding diamonds in the roughs.
or the
They're
Leafs.
not finding, or the Leafs. They're not finding
Yeah.
those pieces. They're adding guys in. They're thinking, "Oh, this is going to work." That didn't work.
So
Well,
would you
okay, we're
say
going to get
it's
this guy.
would you say it's their scouting's fault, or do you think they're getting the right guys and they're just not able to coach them properly?
I think it's a bit of my biggest thing. I think it's more impatience. They're not developing
Mm,
guys from the minors. They're not taking the time to like what they're drafting. So I guess it kind of goes to scouting. Yeah, part of it, but they're not. They haven't built a pool of prospects in the last few years. So when you're in that issue where you need depth, you can't pull guys up for the minors and place them in, and they don't know your systems as well. Like that's why teams like the Bruins, how like you see their bottom six, there's always two or three guys every year that you look at the Bruins and go, where the hell did they get this guy? They spent 4 or 5 years in Providence playing the exact same system as what the Bruins play. So the minute they step up, nothing changes. They're just in the NHL instead of the AHL. So they got to adjust the speed. The minute they adjust the speed, they stand
no good.
out.
Yeah.
That's where that's where I think the Leafs are starting to get to that point now. You're
Mm.
starting to see it with some of the prospects coming up, which is good. You're seeing it. New York, like the Rangers are doing a decent job with it now. Stevie Y has flipped Detroit. They're starting to do the same thing. Tampa's the prime example
Tampa's Tampa.
of that whole thing. Is yeah, they're stacked, but you look at the bottom six,
Pretty
you
solid.
can roll them. You could roll them out in the final minute of a one-goal game
Yeah.
for a quick 30-second shift if you
Yeah.
really needed to.
Yeah.
So like it, that's what Edmonton's got to focus in on. And since they're not doing it, they're trying to push for the cup to get McDavid one.
He's
They're
not gonna.
handicapping. He's
He's
not going
not.
to win that.
No, he's not winning one with the Oilers. I think he's gonna request a trade before his contract's done. He's
And
wasting.
I
He's
would, at that point, my fingers crossed. If he requests a trade, the salary cap jumps by another 12.5 million, and he goes to Colorado.
because like you look at it now, like he signed for another 3-4 years. Do you
I think
something
it's
like that?
longer.
Is it longer?
Yeah, let me check.
Because he had three. If it's his seventh year, that means it's his fourth year of his contract. So
You
you
got to
have
remember, he
four.
was also on his entry level for the first three.
Yeah, so 3 years, and he's been in the league for four. I mean 7. So this would be his. Yeah, this would be a fourth year. So he'd have 4 more years, including
He's
this one.
under contract until the 2025-2026 season.
Yeah, yeah, 5 more years.
So yeah, I guess
Well, 4 and a bit.
technically you are right. He's got
Yeah,
4 more years.
but
We're
like
not quite 2022 yet.
no, but you're looking at this right, and you're looking how they're playing, and they're looking how they're structured the team. Do you really think they're the way they've structured the team, they have a chance of winning in the next couple years?
The only chance, no, because like the cap hit does not drop. It's they move the bonus and base salary around through the years, but the AAV is still 12.5. They would have to, if they wanted to win with him there in Edmonton and have Draisaitl, I'm making a bold statement. They're gonna have to be awful for at least another, like they have to be like god awful for
But
2 to 3 years.
it's impossible. You have Draisaitl and McDavid. You can't.
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying, like the only way you're gonna do it, you got to be god awful for at least 2 years, so you can get some picks in
Yeah.
and build that talent pool up and do
And
it
that
right.
and that's the
Can't be
problem. It
cut and
doesn't
dry.
it doesn't that's the problem because I was looking and I'm like, maybe I'm wrong, but draft picks. But I'm like, if you have McDavid and Draisaitl, it doesn't matter how bad the rest of your team is, you'll always be middle of the pack at least because they'll
Because
drag you.
they could be dead last in the league, and I bet you McDavid still has 100 points.
Yeah.
He's just that good.
So you can't tank with the two of them on that team. So what do? You just sit as a fringe playoff team until McDavid either asks for a trade or his contract ends? It's a waste. It's such a
I, I
waste of the best player.
I wish I could give you a straight answer.
I know.
There's no straight answer with this one. Like it's a situation where Ken Holland is a really good GM because look what he did with Detroit for so many years.
Mhm.
He stepped into a dumpster fire that Peter Chiarelli left him,
Oh yeah,
and he's trying to right the ship. But the contracts that Chiarelli signed and the length of them and the no movement clauses,
yeah. It's
holy
terrible.
crap! Like, and he's trying to break into the league as a GM again. So Edmonton's probably going to sit there and look. If someone signs Chiarelli, they're going to look at that team and go, okay, you're going to be in the same boat we are in about 3 years. Good luck. It's just bad. He did the same thing to the Bruins. He did the same thing to the Oilers. Wherever he goes, he runs the cap up thinking, okay, I'm going to build a team in 2 years to win it, and then maybe I'll get fired. I don't have to worry about the repercussions of it. Because it's bad. Like, it's bad.
It's just
But
gonna be
that's
such a
all I got to
shame.
say.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I just thought I'd bring it up that it's like I would just like to see the best player in the world play on a half decent team.
Yeah, like Colorado, put him on the top line with McKinnon and Landeskog.
Would you trade McKinnon for McDavid? Oh, oh, you want to say yes?
Want to say yes, but Nate's my boy. Nate Dogg's my boy.
No, it's hard.
But if you're that's the other thing too is he brings a style of play that McDavid does, but McDavid is the best in the world. Yes, but I would
Get
be
it?
literally,
Yeah,
I would go sleepless for a week
dude. You get a free
contemplating.
pass. It's McDavid. Like no, there's no one who says, you know what? I don't really want McDavid for that. It's no ask is too high. Like it's Connor McDavid.
But I'm such a homer since he's already on my team. I'm like, I don't know if I can move him. But McDavid, so yeah, I'd have to pull the
Yeah,
trigger.
man. Uh,
But if you're asking me to make that trade right now, I would be very reluctant, only because you have a $6.3 million contract to McKinnon for a 12 and a half
yeah,
with McDavid.
yeah. But it's
I'm keeping 6.3, but if salary cap wasn't an issue, yes,
yeah.
yes, I'd pull the trigger on
Well,
him.
McDavid on the Avs is just nightmare fuel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's why I
Mc,
would love to see it, but I will
McDavid
never.
on 80% of the NHL teams would just be nightmare, but
Even
he's
if you
not.
put it in like a squad like Seattle, like
What happens to Edmonton when McDavid leaves? Do they just become bottom? Do they surpass Buffalo as the trashiest of the trash? Because that is their identity. Is we have McDavid.
do they lose dry? Or is this like just McDavid only? Drysaitel still there?
Well, Draisaitl has 1 year less remaining, and I think if McDavid leaves, then Draisaitl's like, no, ship me out too.
See, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I would think you would try to. You want to go if at that point they're not a contender, he's gone.
Yeah, if you're trading one, you might as well trade both and get the assets.
Yeah, and I don't know if I would. I don't know if they dropped it as the trashiest team because again, if let's say Ken Holland's still there at the point, he can build a great squad.
Hmm.
But it's one of those things where then you have to kind of start looking what's going to happen from there. Like who are we drafting? Who's the hot up and coming guy? Like if this like let's say this happened this year, you got Shane Wright coming up. Okay, decent. Like that's a good piece to start building around. 2 years with Connor Bedard. Okay, awesome. But if it's let's say 2 years ago, who's the first overall 2 years ago? It was Power, and then the year before that.
Why don't I think Lafreniere? Or is
Okay,
that the
for
same?
example, like right there, like you hear the name, and I would have taken him first overall, no problem. But now you're starting to see his progression. So, knowing what we know now, 2 years ago, I would not be that optimistic with taking Lafreniere first overall.
Mhm.
But again, you don't know in that moment, so it's tough to speculate that kind of stuff so far down the road.
Yeah.
But you just got to hope they have a GM like Ken Holland still there, a good coach, because Dave Tippett's a good coach as well. So if you have those two pieces, if you lose those guys, but you get the assets and you can start a proper rebuild, yes, it sucks. It's horrible, but you don't become that low as Buffalo
Buffalo's
in the
still.
long-winded. That was my long way around to get to that point.
Yeah. I I think we if the Oilers don't make the playoffs this year, I think there's a very strong conversation that he starts thinking about it.
There's going to be some choice words said by him and Drysaitel for sure.
Yeah, if they don't make playoffs, they're gonna because they it was 1 or 2 years ago where he flipped out on them and they promised him, no, 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 we're doing this, please, no, no, no. Because I remember there was like rumors about him like wanting to get shipped out, and then they like calmed him down, and then they made the first round or something like that. I think if they miss the playoffs entirely this year, then that conversation happens again, and then based on the following year, I think he gets shipped out.
Well, at least on like the side for the Oilers, they have 3 games in hand on Anaheim and Vegas, and they're only 4 points behind.
That's good.
And those are the top two teams in the Pacific right now, so that's good. But for like Colorado and Edmonton, they're tied with 36 points, so they occupy the two wildcard spots. Winnipeg, LA are at 33, and Dallas is at 32. But Edmonton's got a game in hand on 3 of those 4 teams. And Colorado's still sitting with some of the lowest games played in the entire West Division, so I'm not worried about my side.
Them in Boston, right?
Oh, it's stupid. Colorado's played 27, Boston's played 26.
Stupid. I think we're done for the night, buddy.
I think we've covered as much as we can for a lackluster week of news.
You want since we don't have any games to predict, for fun, you want let's do. I want to do present predictions. What do you think? If there was one thing you think you're going to get for Christmas, what do you think is it? What do you think it's going to be?
Um, ooh,
Yeah,
that's a real good one because I don't even remember what I asked for Christmas because, well, I'm an idiot. Um, I'm gonna say wireless Bluetooth speaker because mine went for it became very dead. Battery was just awful by the
yeah.
time, so I think a new wireless Bluetooth speaker would be for me. You?
Well, originally I was going to say Leaf tickets because my dad usually gets me Leaf tickets for Christmas. I don't think that's a wise gift at the moment.
No.
Um, uh, something I've had my eyes on is I'm hoping I get myself another Lego thing for a Lego Star Wars thing because I got this for my anniversary, my Millennium Falcon, and I loved it, and I kept saying how much I loved doing it to my whole family, and I've been nudging them. I'm like, yo, like a Death Star would be like really sick if I got like one of those to build. Like, I
For
would
like a
really,
3 foot Lego R2D2?
yeah, those are the two I've been looking at.
Of course.
Yeah. So I'm hoping by the next show, it's right there. That's what I'm hoping
I'll
for.
keep my fingers crossed for you.
Yeah. I might be very depressed. Because have you seen the prices of those things?
Uh, no, because I've been too scared to look at the prices of those things.
The Death Star, when I saw it online, was $700. There's also
And
a larger version of the Millennium Falcon that goes for like 1,000. Lego's expensive, man.
where does the day go when you just woke up and the Lego was there and you didn't have to worry about the prices?
Oh,
Like,
you're like, I made a gun. Like it's like, remember
yeah,
making like the stupid little. I didn't know what I was making.
or you built a tower and it was just square bricks just built straight up.
Sometimes you put like a bit of a base so it doesn't like fall over. Oh, those are the days.
One thing I do want to see though, if Lego makes it, is this has been a discussion in my family for the last couple of, or I would say the last 2 weeks about Christmas movies. My brother, my dad, and myself believe that Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Yeah, it
So
is.
I want a Lego version of Nakatomi Plaza
Totally do that. You know,
because
there's
to me, Christmas doesn't happen until I see someone fall on top of Nakatomi Plaza.
you can actually. I'll send you the site. There's a site that lets you that people make because you can go to Lego shop. There's actually a Lego shop down the street from me, and you can buy all the different kinds you want, right? All the different little pieces and stuff. And there's a site where people make blueprints, like the whole instruction books on anything. So like you can go on there and you want to like I want to make Shenron the dragon from Dragon Ball Z, and someone's like, oh cool, here's a blueprint. These are all the pieces you need and the codes. You just give the owner the codes, and they'll give you all the supplies you need, and it's cheaper because you're not paying for the instructions and stuff. You're just paying for the singular Lego pieces, and then you pay $5 for this guy making a blueprint for you.
That's wicked.
Yeah, it's really cool. I haven't done it yet. I've looked at some of them, and I've just been debating which ones I want to do, and it's anything you can think of.
Okay.
I'll send you the link. It's very cool.
Yeah, send it to me.
Yeah, it's
Definitely
expensive,
send that
man.
to me.
Yeah, but I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
Um, you could do hockey stuff too. Bring it back to hockey a bit. Like you can make Molson Amphitheater if you really wanted to. Don't I don't recommend that.
I would need to make Ball Arena.
Do it anyway, guys. We went for an hour and a half without any Leafs news. Cool, surprising, amazing. We're gonna have this up tomorrow. We are on Google Podcasts now. I have talked to the Google gods. We're gonna be up on Google. We're gonna be up on Spotify. We're gonna be up on YouTube. I'm gonna work on Apple over the Christmas break. They're annoying, but we're gonna figure that out. But we're up on Google, Spotify, and YouTube. Episode's gonna be up tomorrow. Check us out on Twitter. Check us out on Instagram. We have a TikTok now. All the things. Follow them all. Like them all. Comment on them all. Help us out.
Blow this thing up.
Blow this thing up. If we get 100 viewers, then we're gonna bring Reed on the podcast.
The voice of the Hamilton Bulldogs. Bring
Voice of
that.
the Hamilton Bulldogs.
He might break the camera lens, but that's fine.
That's fine. That's fine. We'll just have it. Even if we have his voice is the iconic thing. Unless you've seen the commercials, we'll get him on physical.
We gotta try and see if we can get that up somehow.
I can get we can get a picture. I am not allowed to put the footage on.
Maybe I can talk to the Bulldogs about that.
YouTube will claim it. They claim everything.
Well,
you can't hum a song without being copyright claimed.
Yeah, well.
Ridiculous. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening. We will be back next week. We'll talk about some World Junior news. Sound good to you?
Yeah, well, that's going to be the only thing we can really talk about next week, so.
Well, it'll be the three of us, talk some World Junior stuff. James, say how good of a job we did this week.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you guys did a great job last week without me. I wish I was here, but stupid friggin' IT issues.
Yeah, you're still having IT issues, but you made it this week. Appreciate it.
That's nice thing about having an iPad, phone, and laptop. You can figure it out.
Maybe you should just get away from Apple, but whatever. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening. Have a good night. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas to everybody.
Merry Christmas.